we've all seen ChatGPT's, incorrect answers. So
yes, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the first things I did when I first used ChatGPT was I entered in the prompt. I said, tell me who the leading independent digital transformation consulting firms were, because I was hoping to see Third Stage on there. It did not tell me Third Stage, but what it told me is all these other companies that are not independent. So I was like, that's not true, because those companies are affiliated with software vendors. So that I was a little jaded early on, but I think it's actually getting a lot better. But still, I mean, there's still wrong data out there that ChatGPT is drawing from in certain cases, and you just have to be aware and know that you've been disciplined about your data cleanup and your data governance and all that stuff, which has always been important. But I think manufacturers have struggled a lot with that over the years.
And that's another good point of what might be holding manufacturers back, or like the critical challenges, right? Resources. Everybody wants to implement these solutions, but I don't think they understand like the independent resources that need to be responsible for these projects. Because everybody that has the day job in a manufacturing facility, they don't have the time to take on an AI project as well. And often it requires their input, but there needs to be more people who are coming in and helping out versus like people who already have a day job,
Right. Yeah. Makes total sense. Here's another comment from Will on LinkedIn. He says, AI really starts to gain traction when you have an industry expert working with the development team to create real life use cases that help their customers gain value. And that's a great point. I think more so than even other technology initiatives, you need IT and business representation. And Kate, you mentioned all the stakeholders that need to be involved too. There's just a lot of collaboration that goes into making these AI initiatives work. Here's a really interesting question that kind of put you on the spot here, Kate. This is from Luis on LinkedIn. Luis says, what is more critical, people's involvement in the project or integration between systems? Which I feel like they're both important, but do you feel like one is more important than the other?
That's the magic question. I guess, the integration one's easier to answer because it depends on the application. That's my, cheating answer, right? But I mean, obviously that's super important. I'd say that when it comes to what's hindering manufacturers from leveraging AI, it's the people, the organization. And I'm not saying people are getting in the way on purpose. I'm saying it's hard to completely change how you operate. It's hard to implement. Like, I didn't like when I got a new CRM or something, and it was one tool and had nothing to do with AI. I just didn't want to use a new system. So implementing technology that's going to like be part of a person's day-to-day and expecting them to use it is such a big challenge. In fact, that's one of the things that Amgen tracks. Of all the tools that they're implementing, they're tracking, utilization and getting input from their employees. And then that's a big consideration that they're making when they're evaluating implementing a technology is, will people use this? And because, if no one's going to use it, then it's kind of not worth. The technology can be great, but if no one's using it, it won't really matter.
Yeah, I agree. Here's an area we haven't really touched yet is this is from Saif on LinkedIn. He says, can AI help with supply chain management like material planning and production planning in manufacturing? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think that is a really tough space just with the outlier events. But, if you kind of take the outliers out of the equation, it's very beneficial. Getting real-time information from your supply, the further you can go down either upline or downstream, I'd say, upline if you're trying to plan for your production process itself. If you get better information going in, you're going to know a lot more on how to optimize your production based on that. And then also the demand that's pulling from your facilities. So demand planning is definitely, I think, an opportunity when it comes to supply. And then also quality is another thing in supply. I guess that's really relevant and important, especially like, I don't know, some paper recycling mills, for example, they have suppliers and get a lot of variety in what they're recycling. And those inputs matter a lot in their production and how to kind of tweak what they're doing in order to make the product to spec. So I think that understanding that data going in and collecting data, that's just an example from these suppliers, and knowing what's coming kind of helps set you up for success to optimize your production, according to what's coming in.
Yeah. And that's where so much of the complexity is too. When you get to material planning and production planning, that's where there's a lot of opportunity to take just mass amounts of data and make better use of it, and augment the human tribal knowledge that's probably been running your supply chain and your material management, your MRP, and all that stuff for the years past.